300,000 years had passed. Stars shifted. Empires rose and fell. Earth was gone, vanished in silence. Most forgot. The rest never believed we existed at all. Then the sky opened. We returned. And we were smiling. The council chamber buzzed, not with unity, but with the quiet suspicion of allies who never quite trusted each other. The circular hall glittered with species from 27 systems, each draped in their ceremonial garb, some breathing vapor, others light. In the center, the grand table shimmered with a shared holographic projection of deep space footage. A fleet. A human fleet. Dead black vessels shaped like jagged fins, burning with red atmospheric glows, hovered silently beyond the fringes of known space. They weren't broadcasting identification, weren't answering hails, and they were moving. Not meandering. Not probing. Advancing. Ambassador Selrek of the Sayari, a gelatinous silver being with a crown of psychic nodules, slithered forward and sneered, primitive design. Crude materials. Surely a rogue AI or an automated scavenger fleet. Earth was extinguished long ago. What is this farce? Councillor Braal of the Drinak, all tusks and tension, muttered, then explain why they're headed for our border worlds in a perfect military formation. The YL3 elder stirred. Ancient and plant-like, its voice echoed in slow tones. We have seen this before, long ago, in fragments. Silent. Efficient. Too quiet to be automated. Too precise to be natural. This is them. The chamber stiffened. The word Earth hadn't been spoken in centuries, not seriously. Humanity, once the unruly species from a forgotten spiral arm, had vanished without explanation. Their colonies burned, their outposts silent. Some said a civil war wiped them out. Others whispered that they simply turned everything off and disappeared. Maybe it's a trick, hissed Selrek. A mimic force using Earth's name for fear. Then the central console blinked. A signal. Tight band frequency. Unmistakably human. The voice that followed was pleasant. Warm. Calm. Greetings, members of the Galactic Council. I am Commander Elias Wren, representing the Terran Remnant. Or, as you knew us, Earth. A pause. We're terribly sorry for the long silence. We needed time. Time to reflect, evolve, and prune unnecessary distractions. We hope this reintroduction finds you well. Braal stared at the display. What in the name of gravity does that mean? Before anyone could reply, Wren's fleet shifted, precisely, mathematically. Dozens of ships locked orbit around the neutral world of Tilari 3, a mineral-rich but unarmed planet. They weren't attacking. They were waiting. Bridge of the TSV Valkyrie. Flagship of the Terran Return Fleet. Elias Wren stood at the viewport, hands behind his back, suit perfectly pressed. The stars reflected off his glasses, though his eyes never flinched. Behind him, Admiral Rourke muttered, "Council's nervous." Good. Elias's voice was quiet. They should be. The Admiral grinned. Think they'll remember us? Elias turned, his face calm, almost amused. Not at first. They'll remember when it's too late. He walked to the command console and tapped a datapad. A list of pre-marked systems flickered into view, each one tagged with red glyphs: weapons research centers, fleet supply stations, AI cores. Rourke raised an eyebrow. They still think we came for peace. Elias smiled. We are peaceful. No threats, no attacks, no ultimatums. Just polite observation, from orbit. The crew chuckled, but no one laughed too hard. Everyone aboard the Valkyrie knew what the mission really was. They weren't here to announce their return. They were here to audit the galaxy. Back at the Council station, ambassadors argued. Some demanded weapons be readied. Others urged diplomacy. The YL3 elder raised a slow, vine-wrapped limb. We invite the human to speak. Before anyone objected, the chamber's projection shimmered. Elias Wren appeared, full-bodied, standing calmly in his tailored uniform, adjusting his cuffs. He bowed slightly. Apologies for the abrupt entrance. We didn't wish to intrude. We merely returned to observe how things have changed. Selrek scoffed. Earth fell. You fled like animals. Why return now? Elias smiled gently. Animals? Perhaps. But we do have curious survival instincts. Funny thing, given enough silence, we learn to listen. And when we listen long enough, we learn what everyone else is really saying. Braal leaned forward, growling. Are you threatening the council? Elias's tone never changed. Of course not. Threats are crude. We don't raise our voices anymore. It frightens the neighbors. The chamber fell uncomfortably quiet. The YL3 elder finally spoke. What do you want? Elias's expression softened, almost sympathetically. We want context, clarity, assurance. We're here to evaluate whether your galaxy has matured, or if it needs pruning. He bowed again. Of course, we'll leave if we're unwelcome. But our ships will remain, for documentation purposes. Selrek slammed a translucent tentacle on the table. This is manipulation. Elias raised an eyebrow. Would it help if we brought cookies? Later, private council conversation. Behind sealed walls, Braal whispered, they've taken orbit over 3 critical systems, without firing a shot. Our sensors can't even read their energy signatures. They're smiling, the YL3 elder said, but every smile hides teeth. Selrek muttered, what do we do? The elder looked at the flickering image of Earth's fleet and said grimly, we remember what we forgot, humans never act loud. Not when they're serious. Valkyrie, observation deck. Elias stood alone, gazing down at Telari 3. Beside him, the AI interface chimed. Observation Phase 1 complete. Alien political instability detected. Shall I initiate Phase 2? Elias exhaled, slow and precise. Not yet. Let them panic a little longer. He smiled. Fear is the most honest diplomat. The docking bay of the Galactic Council's prime station had never seen a human. Not a real one. So when Commander Elias Wren stepped off the descending platform of the Valkyrie's diplomatic shuttle, dozens of alien dignitaries watched from behind shimmering shields. Surveillance drones hovered. Armored guards shifted nervously. The station's AI recalibrated the atmospheric blend twice in under a minute. Elias adjusted his cufflinks. Feels like a school reunion, he murmured. Admiral Rourke's voice crackled in his earpiece. Don't kiss anyone. We're still considered extinct. He smiled politely and stepped forward. The greeting chamber was a polished cylinder of mirror steel and echoing acoustics designed to make even the smallest being feel insignificant. At the far end stood 3 council members, the ones brave enough to meet the so-called Terran representative in person. Ambassador Selrek of the Sayari shimmered with distaste. Councillor Braal's thick jaw was locked. And Elder YL3's vines curled slowly, unreadable. Elias bowed with precise grace. Esteemed representatives, I thank you for receiving me under uncertain circumstances. Selrek sneered. Your ships encircle our worlds and you bring pleasantries. Would you prefer threats? Elias asked, voice light, tone dangerous. Selrek recoiled, but Braal interjected. Let's not dance in riddles, human. What does Earth want? Elias smiled. Tea. A beat of silence. Excuse me? Braal asked, blinking. Tea, Elias repeated, placing a sleek metal thermos on the table and unscrewing the lid. We've missed it. Cultivated a few forgotten strains during the long sleep. Jasmine. Darjeeling. Chamomile. He poured himself a cup. But more importantly, we want to talk. We've been gone a while. We'd like to know who's running the neighborhood. Selrek hissed, you come armed to the teeth, cloaked in black steel, and ask for introductions like a neighbor dropping by. Elias sipped calmly. I brought sugar. Later, the council lounge. The atmosphere had shifted. Elias reclined with a porcelain cup, the YL3 elder seated nearby, tendrils swaying in thought. Selrek had stormed out mid-conversation after Elias politely suggested that narcissism might be a common side effect of breathing too much plasma vapor. Braal, however, remained, arms crossed, watching. I've studied Terran history, Braal muttered. You wage wars like you breathe. You cloak violence in elegance. Elias nodded appreciatively. That's the nicest thing anyone said to me this week. Why the silence? Braal asked. Why disappear for so long? Elias's gaze darkened just slightly. We realized the galaxy was noisy, and naive, and arrogant. We wanted to give it time to forget us, so we could study it properly when it thought it was safe. You're saying this was planned? Elias didn't answer. Instead, he gestured to a floating holo-orb displaying live feeds of planetary systems, council-controlled, now surrounded by quiet Terran vessels. We listened. We catalogued. We learned. The galaxy screams its secrets when it thinks no one's listening. YL3's vines stirred. You say this softly, but it is threat. No, Elias replied. It's a mirror. Galactic Archives, restricted room A9. Unbeknownst to the Council, the Valkyrie's AI had breached the Council Station's archives 2 days before Elias even landed. Lines of ancient treaties, weapon manifests, species vulnerabilities, compiled silently. No alarms triggered. No systems alerted. A Terran infiltrator, masked in holographic blur, moved through dark corridors now, placing sensor bugs, disrupting comms, and tagging doors for later purposes. The human fleet hadn't come to discuss peace. It had come to inventory weaknesses. Council War Room, emergency session. Selrek returned in fury. He mocks us. He brings jokes, tea, and shadow fleets and expects civility. He hasn't fired a single shot, YL3 responded. Exactly. Selrek snapped. A predator that doesn't snarl before it strikes is not being polite, it's choosing its moment. Braal grunted. Our probes can't read their ship energy outputs. Our long-range scans go dark near them. That's not diplomacy, that's control. YL3's eyes blinked slowly. Do you remember the Battle of Zenthar 6? The one that erased 4 star systems? Braal asked. YL3 nodded. It wasn't pirates. It wasn't civil war. It was a test. A controlled burn. I believe the Terrans were watching, even then. On board the Valkyrie. Human strategy briefing, Project Lazarus. In a low-lit chamber beneath the ship's command deck, senior officers gathered as Elias addressed the room. A holographic globe spun slowly in front of them. Dotted across it, blinking red worlds, council trade routes, and weak points in defense networks. We've mapped everything, he began. Down to their recycling schedules. Laughter. But we won't strike. Not yet. Our strength isn't in brute force. It's in patience. Subtlety. We'll let their fear do most of the work. Crumbling alliances. Broken trust. Imploding systems. By the time they ask us to take charge, they'll think it was their idea. One officer raised a brow. And if they attack first? Elias's smile faded. Then we remind them why silence followed Earth's disappearance. Station observation deck. Dusk. Elias stood beside the YL3 Elder, both watching the shimmer of ships hanging in space like blades of shadow. You speak gently, YL3 murmured. But you are wrapped in fire. Elias looked down at the council planet below. We are what your galaxy made us. You taught us that peace was a pause between wars. We simply adapted. You could still walk away. Elias sipped the last of his tea. Could. But we've already unpacked. The news spread like plasma fire through dry orbitals. The Sayari strike fleet had gone silent. 300 ships, vanished. No transmissions. No debris. Just a last recorded image, a crimson glow blooming behind them, expanding outward like the silent breath of some ancient god. In the council chamber, the remaining delegates sat in stunned silence. Even Selrek's seat remained empty, just a faint silver smear where he'd last sneered. Elias Wren arrived 2 minutes later, as if summoned by fate. He adjusted his collar, bowed slightly, and glanced at the empty seat. Oh dear, he said, did I miss something important? Councillor Braal stood slowly. The Sayari launched an attack without approval. Now they're gone. Gone. Elias repeated, arching a brow. Perhaps they discovered early retirement. It's common in high-stress jobs. YL3's vines twitched. Your fleet was in the same sector. Do you deny involvement? Elias's expression was polite, almost serene. Deny? No. But there was no confrontation. No warning. No return fire. Just silence. He sipped a fresh cup of tea, seemingly unfazed by the horror around him. Sometimes, he added softly, we let things collapse under their own weight. Galactic network, civilian channels, intercepted by Terran AI. Panic bloomed in whispers across species forums and encrypted broadcasts. Rumors flew faster than warships. The humans erased them with a thought. Their ships are ghosts, nothing can scan them. They smile too much. It's not natural. Civilian colonies began requesting protective contact with Terran fleets. Not surrender, just proximity. The implication was obvious. Meanwhile, on board the Valkyrie, infiltration cell Icarus Wing activated. At precisely 4 o'clock Universal Time, hidden Terran operatives across 11 systems received the same silent signal. Substations blacked out. Fleet AI cores stalled. Border security satellites looped fake footage, replaying peaceful skies while human drones glided silently overhead. Elias watched it all from his observation chamber. Not a word spoken. He didn't need to give orders. This phase had begun years ago. Council emergency meeting, private transmission log. Braal leaned toward the YL-3 elder, voice a gravel whisper. We underestimated them. All of us. They have not declared war, the elder said carefully. Because they don't need to, Braal hissed. They're inside our systems. Our comms. Our defense networks. What we call war, they call paperwork. Back in the council lounge, Elias sat once again, legs crossed, surrounded by species who had now shifted from arrogance to caution. We're hearing things, Braal said. Vanishing ships. Static in our command centers. Worlds requesting your protection. Elias nodded, nonchalantly. Yes. It's odd, isn't it? Fear moves faster than light. Are you planning an occupation? Braal asked. Elias met his gaze. We've planned nothing. We observe. We offer calm in unstable times. If your people choose our presence, who are we to refuse hospitality? That's manipulation. Or diplomacy, Elias said, smiling gently. The difference is branding. YL-3 turned. Then explain this. Your infiltrators have been detected. Elias didn't blink. Have they harmed anyone? No. Then perhaps they're tourists with a very niche interest in electrical infrastructure. Hours later, classified communication between Outer Rim colonies. Human engineers arrived unannounced. Our reactors now run at 300% efficiency. We found Earth-built satellites in our orbit. They claim to be gifted communication upgrades. One of them fixed our climate systems and left a note, "You're welcome. Don't tell the council." Back on the council station, observation deck. Elias stood once again with the YL-3 elder, watching the void. You know what they're saying about you? The elder asked. I can guess. They call you devils wrapped in silk. Elias chuckled. Not inaccurate. We just took the time to sew better suits. The elder's voice dropped. What do you truly want, Elias Wren? He answered without looking away. Balance. The galaxies tilted too far toward pride. Power was hoarded by fools who never earned it. We don't seek domination. We seek correction. Through fear. No, Elias said softly. Through truth. But fear tends to clarify the message. Flashback, Terran Command Archives, Project Lazarus. The plan had been simple in design, impossible in execution. Vanish. Remove humanity from the board. Let the galaxy forget. In that vacuum, Terran AI expanded silently. They infiltrated data nodes, rewrote star maps, tracked technological trends, waited. The fleet was built in silence. The minds were trained in simulations of galactic diplomacy, war, and psychology. Humanity didn't go extinct. It went invisible. And when it returned, it came with perfect timing. Council debate, public transmission. The floor was open. Species across systems watched as Councillor Braal stood. I propose a resolution to restrict Terran fleet movements. Elias rose slowly, brushing imaginary dust from his sleeve. We respect your decision, of course, he said, though I would recommend reviewing your station's reactor shielding before enforcing such decisions. Braal froze. What do you mean? Elias tapped a holo control. The lights dimmed slightly. Braal's eyes narrowed. That's not possible. Elias smiled. You really should update your firmware. It's been broadcasting your passwords to open space for years. Silence. Then, slowly, Elias looked at each representative in turn. We're not here to fight. That's inefficient. We're here to make sure no one needs to fight again. But you will fight, Braal said. Elias's tone cooled. Only if we must. And if we do, you'll understand why Earth stayed silent for so long. Final scene, Valkyrie command room. Admiral Rourke watched the screen. Another council station now requested human technical support. Like dominoes, he muttered. Elias stepped beside him. No. Like a virus. Quiet. Patient. Inside the system before anyone realizes it's already rewritten the code. And what happens when they realize they're surrounded? Elias turned toward the stars. Then they'll beg us to lead. No war was declared. No warnings issued. Just silence. Again. But this time, it wasn't Earth that went quiet. It was the galaxy. Council Command Core. Emergency broadcast. Time, 0400 Universal. Every major system flickered. Star lanes rerouted themselves. AI defense networks went offline in perfect synchronicity. Then came the message. From Terran Strategic Command. Subject. Status correction. A voice followed, calm, clear, crisp. To whom it may concern, the galaxy is no longer in compliance with operational balance protocols. Terran oversight will now resume. The voice was unmistakably Elias Renz. Aboard the Valkyrie, flagship observation deck. Elias stood motionless as dozens of alien fleets scrambled into defensive positions across the stars. Ships powered up. Shields activated. But none fired. Because firing meant revealing fear. And right now, fear was all they had left. Admiral Rourke approached, datapad in hand. 23 Council worlds have requested human supervision. 7 more are unavailable for comment, likely panic lockdowns. 4 systems have gone completely dark. We didn't even touch them. Elias nodded. Fear is doing more work than any weapon ever could. He turned to the projection, the Council Central Star Map, updated in real time. Human vessels hovered at strategic choke points. Trade routes. Power nodes. Civilized worlds. Not invading. Just waiting. It was the kind of waiting that felt like a loaded gun resting on the table, untouched, but loud in its implications. YL3 Homeworld. Inner Sanctum. The Elder sat alone, watching Terran aid shuttles land on their soil. Children gathered near them. Terran officers handed out medical kits, translators, books. Smiles. Laughter. Not a single rifle was drawn. They destroy, a young counselor whispered, with kindness. The Elder said nothing. Because this wasn't kindness. This was clarity, executed at scale. Encrypted council transmission, leaked audio. We can't outthink them. They've already mapped our reactions. They knew we'd resist the Sayari first. They knew Selrek would lash out. They wanted him to. That triggered everything. The whole galaxy danced, to their script. So what do we do now? We ask for terms. Before we forget how to ask. Galactic Broadcast, Open Channel. From Commander Elias Wren. Every functioning terminal, visor, and comm unit lit up. The projection showed Elias, composed, arms behind his back, standing aboard the Valkyrie with the Terran fleet eclipsing a binary sun behind him. His eyes held no aggression, only certainty. Citizens of the galaxy, he began, this isn't a conquest. It's an audit. One long overdue. For millennia, Earth observed from the dark. You laughed at our silence. You considered it extinction. But extinction is loud. It screams. It fights. We simply stopped talking. In the quiet, we learned. He gestured, and dozens of red-lit Terran ships blinked onto systems across the projection. We studied your structures. Your lies. Your failures. You built empires on fear and arrogance. You crowned the loudest, not the wisest. You held power as if it belonged to you. It doesn't. The image of a collapsing defense grid flickered on screen. A Drinax stronghold. No human ship near it. Still, its systems failed, down to its airlocks. We didn't fire. We didn't invade. We offered tea. You brought fleets. A pause. So we brought clarity. Braal's final broadcast. Unofficial. From a hidden bunker, Braal recorded his last message as counselor. We were fools. We thought war looked like missiles. We forgot war could look like silence. Smiles. Calculated grace. The humans, they never wanted our surrender. They planned our realization. He laughed once. Dry. They didn't come back for revenge. They came back for balance. And they came back prepared. On board the Valkyrie, command chamber. 30 systems requesting formal Terran governance, Rourke reported. Elias set his teacup down. Too fast, he said. Rourke blinked. We don't accept. Oh, we will. But not yet. Let them sit in uncertainty. Let them remember how quickly we rewrote the rules without drawing a single blade. He turned to the display, a holographic sculpture of Earth. We didn't return for territory, Elias said. We returned for truth. And they're just starting to taste it. Final message. Locked transmission. Marked, eyes only, Project Lazarus complete. Mission objective. Successful deployment of Human Resurgence Protocol. Phase 1. Psychological inversion complete. Phase 2. Infrastructure override in place. Phase 3. Voluntary integration underway. The galaxy now understands, Earth never left. It simply waited until it no longer needed permission to lead. Last scene. Elias alone. The stars blinked slowly outside the viewport. Elias stood there, sipping the final remnants of his tea. He didn't speak. He didn't move. He didn't have to. The galaxy had finally heard humanity's voice again. And it would never forget the sound of silence breaking.